This is the smallest car that Tesla currently sell, and it's one of the newest. It's the Tesla Model 3 Highland Edition. And I want to take a look at all of the changes that Tesla have made to this new model for 2024, partly to share with you guys, and partly because of the completely selfish reason that I've been toying with getting one of these myself, but I've needed to convince myself that this can be a good vehicle for a family of 4. And by convince myself, I mean convince my wife. And I've certainly come to a conclusion on that, and so has she, but I'll come more onto that in a little bit. For now, let's take a drive. Now there's two versions of the Model 3 Highland. There's the standard, and then there's the dual motor long range version, which is the one I'm driving today. Now currently there's no news on a performance based model, which there has been in previous Model 3s. But let's face it, do you really need a performance model? In the past, typically speaking, they offer a few things, but namely one of them is a much faster acceleration speed. And at 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, I think this is more than quick enough. You don't really need to go much faster than that. For some perspective, that's almost as fast as a Lamborghini Gallardo, which is insane. And let's just pause it there for a second, because the asterisk was because Tesla released a brand new performance all-wheel drive version of the Model 3 Highland a day after filming this episode, which goes 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. If all you've ever known is ICE cars, the moment you put your foot down in one of these, it's going to put a smile on your face. Like this. A flippin' heck! And it doesn't matter who you introduce to that, the reaction is going to be the same. Time and time again. You ready? Are you ready, mummy?
Yeah.
No one behind us. You ready, guys?
Whoa, that is fast.
Oh my
Oh my lord, that actually scared the life out of me.
Now yes, this power isn't exclusively related to the Tesla Model 3. Like I said, there are faster Teslas on the market. And it's not even exclusive to Tesla. It's largely down to that electric motor being so much more powerful than anything you'll have ever experienced before. The acceleration is just wild. But it's how Tesla handle that speed which makes this a fantastic experience. Because despite that power, this is actually an extremely pleasant vehicle to drive. Seriously, it's easier than a go-kart. Not the same, it's easier, because all you've got is a steering wheel and a pedal. And that's pretty much it. And here is where the big difference lies with this new Highland variety of the Tesla Model 3, and that's the fact that this has no driving stalks at all. It is completely naked, which is a bit strange at first. These stalks have now disappeared completely, and instead you've got things like the indicators, which are now on the steering wheel as little buttons, and the drive selector is now completely digital on the screen. I didn't really know how well I was going to adapt to it, and I must admit, for the first 30 minutes or so, I kept reaching for the indicators like an idiot. And occasionally I still do. But it's remarkable how quick you actually get used to it. Now, I've seen some people criticize the placement of these indicators on the wheel, because perhaps you're turning the wheel and they're over there and then you can't press the indicators. But I would challenge that. If you need to press your indicator and your steering wheel has already turned 180 degrees, I think you might need to go back to school and retake your driving test. But perhaps the most difficult thing to get used to was the drive selector being the digital screen rather than a physical actual stalk. And the most difficult bit is when you're maneuvering in and out or around or backwards and forwards of driveways, and you have to do it quickly. I guess over time you would become sort of second nature to this new method. But for me, it was a little bit jarring, but to be honest, I can easily see myself getting very used to it very quickly. I just need to spend more time with it. Even now, after only a few days of driving this vehicle, I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it. Like just then, I was reversing out the driveway and I have to do about a 90-point turn to get out because it's really bloody awkward. But that was absolutely fine. I just kept on selecting drive or reverse and drive and reverse, just swiping on the screen. Dead easy. Much easier and much less worry than I thought it would be. Jesus Christ. There we go. 800-point turn. Done. But moving on from those two specific things, the whole driving experience, I feel, is really, really nice. So simple to drive. And we took it on a really long drive from my house to Alton Towers the other day, which was about a 6.5-hour drive, round trip. And when we got back, there was 33% of the battery left, which was unbelievable. I thought that was amazing. But aside from how much battery was left, the entire journey went like that. It was quick, it was painless, it was simple. It's one pedal and a steering wheel and a couple of buttons on your steering wheel, and that's it. And the thing is, there's more to it than just these kind of new additions that minimalize the cab space and make it all kind of futuristic. There are other things, such as the new acoustic glass, which supposedly reduces noise by about 30% in the cabin. That's wind noise and road noise and all the other noises you would expect. And I'm not going to lie, it is silent. I mean, right now there is some wind noise driving at about 60 on a regular road, but driving down country lanes at nearly 30 miles per hour, this thing is silent. And I mean, eerily silent. Just have a listen to this. The audio is now going to come from the camera. I'm driving at 20 miles per hour now, and it is silent. All the audio now is being recorded off that camera, so you know it's not some kind of trickery lapel mic or anything like that. It's all from that camera, and it is silent. But it's this combination of the reduced noise and the reduced analog controls and simplifications that makes this thing feel almost like you're not driving it sometimes. I mean, you can actually not drive it because it does have the adaptive cruise control. So you set that on and you'll go at the pace of the vehicle in front. Or you can even put it on autopilot on motorways and have it drive for you, which is insane in itself. And that needs an entire episode all to itself because that is just out of this world. Honestly, you've got to give that a go. I mean, I could do it now. Look. Right? It's just driving by itself. My feet are off. My hands are on the steering wheel, but it is I'm not moving the steering wheel. My hands are on it. But let's move on from that because I might do another episode where I try and get to Scotland just using autopilot or something like that. I don't know. But never mind the driving experience. What Tesla have done to the internal and the external of this refresh is nothing short of exactly what was needed. So let's go and have a look at that. But before I show you in more detail the changes Tesla have made, a huge thanks to this episode's sponsor, Wondershare Uniconverter. Without them, this episode wouldn't be possible. Now, to be transparent, I had no idea what Uniconverter was until they sent me an email, but now I've tried it, it's going to be a permanent part of my workflow from now on. I get tons of files from the plethora of questionably cheap video and audio tech that I get sent, which isn't processable in my editing software. But by using Uniconverter, I can change these to a file type that my computer actually recognizes. It supports conversion of over 1,000 audio and video formats with lossless processing, but this feature is a drop in the ocean because Uniconverter can do so much more than just converting footage. You can edit video directly in it, add scenes, and utilize a ton of inbuilt AI features such as video enhancement for enhanced frame rates, photo enhancement such as upscaling, clarity boosting, and photo restoration.
It's got some advanced text-to-speech functionality.
And even a watermark removal tool. Naughty, naughty. If you want to give Uniconverter a go, I'll drop a link in the description so you can check it out for yourselves. It's completely free to try, so if you're struggling with a file type or you want some AI assistance, why not give Uniconverter a go? I'll be honest here, and I'll say that I always thought the Model 3 looked a bit bulbous. But this is a new breed of Model 3, and at first it's unquestionably a Model 3. Its silhouette is almost iconic, but if you glance back at it and take a look for perhaps a second longer, it starts to change in front of your very eyes. Something like the Mandela effect starts to take over in your brain. You'll start questioning if the Model 3 always looked like this, or are you having some sort of brief psychotic episode? Fortunately, neither of those things are the case. However subtle the changes have been, they've made a world of difference to this vehicle. Certainly to the front end, as it is. It's sharper, it's more angular, it's more refined, it's more aggressive. The new lines and sharper headlights, I think, change its entire feel to make this model the cool kid in the playground rather than the fat one that was only cool because his parents were rich. But it goes beyond the aesthetics. The new design has been optimised for better aerodynamics, which has helped overall increase the range and has also aided in that silent driving experience by reducing the wind noise. But obviously, that's the outside. There's even more changed on the inside. From an interior perspective, again, the changes are subtle, but have huge amounts of impact. You know the first big change already, and that's the removal of all the stalks. And what this does for the interior might seem small, but it just makes everything feel sleeker and more modern. Honestly, I don't think I've been in a car with this level of minimalism ever. And I'm totally here for it. Everything is matte and low gloss, and it just feels generally pretty solid. And it's got a large central storage area as well, with soft close lids and cup holders and armrest storage. Now, I recognise that people feel that this probably has gone a bit too far down the minimalist rabbit hole, but for me, I feel it really scratches an itch that I didn't know I had. And when getting back into my TT, all the knobs and dials and stalks and selectors and everything else is an overload to the senses and feels terribly cluttered. But most importantly, the minimalism frees up space for my gangly legs and ensures that even a 6'8" giant like myself feels more than roomy and comfortable enough. Jokes aside, there is actually a good amount of room in the back, but we'll go back there in just a moment. In the front still, there's this new trim along the front here, which is this fabric panel, which is dropping the wood from the previous versions. Now that's a bit of a shame. I was a big fan of the wood, but I guess that's personal preference in aesthetic. And then there's this giant sweeping LED ring that goes around the outside perimeter of all the occupants. And you can change the colour of this in the settings, which has access to the full spectrum of RGB. Thankfully, you can have this off at night, so you aren't driving in something reminiscent of a Tron movie. But I think it's pretty cool. Now, the front seats are both heated and cooled, which on a particularly warm day, I'm going to go out and say that you'll be very, very thankful for indeed. Especially if you're like me and like to drive without your trousers on. Now, if you use a keycard to drive, you'll need to place it on the dual phone charging stand here at the front to unlock the car and get it moving, rather than on the storage lid like it was before. But realistically, you're going to be using your phone, which has increased connectivity with this Highland model. So if your phone is paired up to the car through the Tesla app, walking up to it will automatically unlock it when you open the door, and you know you're good to get in and drive away. Then, when you get to your destination, just get out and walk away. And as you get about a metre or two away from the car, a loud sound plays out as if you just electrified the entire car, and the mirrors retract to show when it's been locked. This whole keyless experience, honestly, is just next level. And it makes this car cool just for that alone. Now, in the back, there's way more room than I thought. Having previously been in a Model Y, I expected this to have significantly less space, so it was a bit of a surprise how much room there actually is. There's enough room for me at 6'8" behind the driver's seat. Now, the LED sweep continues around the outside of the car in the back, and there's a new 8-inch screen down here near my shins, which is a slight odd placement, but this screen functions very similar to the one in front, and rear passengers can use this to control their vents and their positioning, turn on their own heated seats, play games, or even watch Netflix on. Although I'd end up needing 12 weeks of osteopath appointments if I spent even a short journey looking down at it. But what's really cool is if you're lucky enough to have a chauffeur, or what some people refer to as a loving relative who you rely on lifts for everywhere, there's a very neat feature that if you're sitting in the back passenger side, you can actually control of the movement of the seat in front and move it forward to give you more leg space. Now, I was slightly concerned that this seemed a little dangerous to put in the hands of kids who will likely try and fold in half whichever unfortunate individual is sitting in this seat. But thankfully, this only works when it's unoccupied. Now, these seats here that I'm in now fold right down to open up the boot space. But to be honest, I think the boot space is excellent as it is, and it's more than enough room to fit a pram in it and still have a ton of space for bags and shopping. And there's even a little hatch underneath. Just here, just like other Teslas, so you can fit a body in it. Maybe not my body. My body might be a bit big. Okay, if you're going to buy a Tesla Model 3, don't murder someone over maybe 5'6". But going back to what I said right at the start, a big part of reviewing this was about finding out whether or not it can be a good family car. So I'm now going to load everything up I need for a day out with the STU'S Reviews family and take them for a spin. So to start with, we have a jute bag full of all my daughters and sons' toys, followed by a coolie bag full of food, a pram, 2 gift bags, a rucksack, another rucksack, a football, an umbrella, everyone's coats for snow, rain or sun, and a folding high chair. Oh, and that's not to mention 2 car seats. And with everything packed, including the family, it was time to try and convince them all that this could be a good family car. You ready? No one behind us. You ready, guys? I'm not going to crash into people's cars.
Okay.
Or at least I don't intend to.
Again.
Again. All right. Okay. Hold on. 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry, mate.
He's facing the wrong way.
Sorry, mate. Oh, baby boy, I'm so sorry. I think I've just killed my child. Oh, please don't call child services. After subjecting my children to G-force that only pilots should experience, I spent the next 30 minutes trying to convince the wife with a monologue on why the Tesla Model 3 Highland was going to be a good family car. And I thought it was going terribly, until this happened. Then you've got a few bits of storage in here, so you've got a big bit of storage there, you've got cup holders, and...
Oh, thank goodness, someone for your bottle. I'm sold. Let's get it.
Is that a permission? Is that permission? No, really, is that permission? So there you have it. It gets my wife's seal of approval, which means this could be a great family car, especially for younger families like mine. Being able to fit that much in, but still have buckets of space left and loads of room for the kids is awesome. Maybe if you have a dog, the 3 wouldn't be suitable with the boot being enclosed. Or maybe if my children grow up to be as gangly as me, we might have some issues at that point. But for now, this is ideal. I think certainly for my young family, it's a great car. And I've got the video evidence as well to prove that my wife said I can get one. So if that's not enough proof of point, I don't know what is. I'll still need to put my official paperwork application in to see if it gets her final approval, but it's safe to say that I think it's won her over too. But overall, going back to the raw changes that Tesla have made to the Model 3 for 2024, I think this is a fantastic upgrade and just what it needed. Certainly from an exterior perspective anyway. And although I was particularly apprehensive about the lack of stalks and requiring most of the interaction through the gigantic black mirror, once I got used to it, it felt even more natural than ever. For me, this just sets a standard that's hard to beat. Now, I'm not an auto expert by a long shot, and I may well be in a honeymoon phase with the sheer amount of tech and futurism in this car, but nothing has put a smile on my face as much as this has for a long while. It drives well, it feels futuristic, and it's uncluttered. So for me, Tesla is still peak when it comes to EVs. It's been easy, fun, and full of some incredible innovations, and it's safe to say that I'm going to be very, very sad when I drop this off to Tesla later this afternoon. What do you guys think of the new Highland Model 3 and its changes? Do you think the refresh has been for the better or the worse? And if you've enjoyed today's EV content, do let me know in the comments below. I might just consider doing some more. And remember to check out this episode's sponsor at the link below. Make sure you hit that thumbs up to subscribe to see more, and I'll see you guys back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon. I wonder if they'll notice if it just doesn't turn back up at Tesla.